Cleopatra VII Philopator ascended to the throne in 51 BCE, inheriting a kingdom plagued by internal strife, famine, and crippling debt to Rome. She was not content to be a mere figurehead. Instead, she immediately began to consolidate power with a series of brilliant maneuvers that demonstrated her political acumen. One of her first and most significant acts was mastering the Egyptian language. Unlike her Greek-speaking Ptolemaic predecessors, who often remained culturally distant from their subjects, Cleopatra embraced Egyptian customs and religion. This linguistic skill was a powerful political tool, allowing her to bypass interpreters and communicate directly with the influential priestly class, local officials, and the common people. By speaking their language, she presented herself not as a foreign occupier but as a true pharaoh, a legitimate successor to a line stretching back millennia. This earned her a level of loyalty and popular support that her family had not enjoyed for generations. She participated in Egyptian religious festivals, was depicted in traditional pharaonic style in temple reliefs, and cultivated the image of herself as the reincarnation of the goddess Isis. This fusion of Greek intellect and Egyptian divinity created a potent and charismatic persona that stabilized her rule from within. Faced with a treasury depleted by her father's profligacy and a severe drought that threatened to cause widespread famine and rebellion, Cleopatra implemented radical economic reforms. She centralized control over Egypt's most valuable resource, grain, by managing its production and distribution with an iron fist. She prevented starvation, quelled potential uprisings, and ensured she had a powerful bargaining chip in foreign relations. She knew that Rome, with its ever-growing population, was dependent on Egyptian grain, and she used this dependency to her advantage. Furthermore, she overhauled the tax system to make it more efficient and cracked down on corruption among officials, which had been rampant under her father's reign. To stimulate the economy, she expanded trade routes through the Red Sea and into the East, bringing new wealth into the kingdom. A key part of her economic strategy was currency reform. She issued new coins bearing her own portrait, a bold and unprecedented move for a Ptolemaic queen. On these coins, she was depicted not as a beautiful siren, but as a strong, intelligent ruler with pronounced features, including her family's prominent nose. This was a deliberate act of propaganda, a clear message sent across the Mediterranean that Egypt was under the command of a competent, powerful, and independent sovereign. She was not a client of Rome. She was its equal. Cleopatra's genius for statecraft was most evident in her dealings with Rome. Her kingdom's survival depended on her ability to navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics, where ambitious generals vied for supreme power. In 48 BCE, with her brother husband Ptolemy XIII having driven her from Alexandria, she needed a powerful ally. Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, arrived in Egypt pursuing his rival, Pompey. Seeing her opportunity, Cleopatra executed one of the most audacious gambits in history. According to the historian Plutarch, she had herself smuggled into the palace where Caesar was staying, rolled up inside a bedding sack or carpet. This dramatic entrance was not merely a theatrical flourish, it was a calculated move designed to bypass her brother's guards, secure a private audience with Caesar, and make an unforgettable impression. It worked. Caesar was captivated not by her beauty, as later legends would claim, but by her audacity, her intelligence, and her compelling political arguments. She convinced him that a stable, prosperous Egypt under her rule was more valuable to Rome than a chaotic one under her brother's. The ensuing alliance was both personal and political. It resulted in the birth of their son Caesarion, whom Cleopatra presented as a potential heir to a vast Greco-Roman empire, a symbol of the union between East and West. This relationship secured her throne and restored Egypt's status as a key player on the world stage. After Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE plunged Rome back into civil war, Cleopatra once again had to choose her allies carefully. She wisely waited, consolidating her power in Egypt and rebuilding her kingdom's resources. When the Roman world was divided between Caesar's heir, Octavian, and his top general, Mark Antony, she saw her chance. In 41 BCE, Antony summoned her to Tarsus to answer for her supposed support of Caesar's assassins. Instead of arriving as a supplicant, Cleopatra staged a spectacular display of power and wealth. She sailed up the Cydnus River in a magnificent golden barge with purple sails and silver oars, rowed by attendants dressed as nymphs and cupids. She herself was dressed as the goddess Venus, the Roman equivalent of Aphrodite, lounging under a gilded canopy. The entire city of Tarsus emptied to witness the spectacle, leaving Antony waiting alone in the marketplace. This masterful piece of political theater was designed to present herself not as a vassal queen but as a goddess coming to meet a god. Antony styled himself as Dionysus. The alliance she forged with Antony was even more ambitious than her one with Caesar. For nearly a decade, they ruled the eastern Mediterranean together. A formidable power couple that challenged Octavian's ambitions. Cleopatra provided Antony with the immense wealth of Egypt money ships and grain that he needed to wage war. In return, she gained Roman military protection and vast new territories for her kingdom, effectively restoring the Ptolemaic Empire to its former glory. She bore him 3 children, further cementing their political and personal bond. Through her strategic partnership with Antony, she came closer than anyone to halting Rome's relentless expansion and creating a new Hellenistic empire with Alexandria, not Rome, at its center. But her greatest trick, leveraging her kingdom's wealth and her own intellect to manipulate the giants of a foreign empire, could not ultimately save her from the inexorable tide of Roman civil war. After their decisive defeat at the naval battle of Actium in 31 BCE, and the subsequent invasion of Egypt by Octavian's forces, Cleopatra's dream of an Eastern empire crumbled. Faced with capture and humiliation in a Roman triumph, she chose to end her own life in 30 BCE in the aftermath. Octavian, soon to be the Emperor Augustus, launched a massive propaganda campaign to vilify her, painting her as a decadent, immoral, foreign seductress who had corrupted noble Roman men. Rome tried to erase her image, recarving her statues and destroying her monuments. Yet the irony is clear. More than 2,000 years later, after all the attempts to bury her legacy under slander and stone, it is Cleopatra's brilliant statecraft, her indomitable will, and her political genius that remain the only parts of her story they could never truly erase. Thanks for watching. Like and share the video and subscribe the channel to watch upcoming interesting video.